Brian, first of all, how quickly were you able to get over that defeat last week and hone in on this game against Tipperary this weekend?
I was straight away, obviously, Kieran. We knew we had a big game coming up this Saturday night once we didn't win last weekend. We was going to be Tipperary as well in Nolan Park. So obviously the initial disappointment had to pass very, very quickly, and we had to start focusing our minds on tonight.
10 years since you've had a championship game here at Nolan Park. How much of a help could it be to your players?
It's difficult to say. We're not looking at it as any particular advantage or anything like that. The pitch is excellent, so it's going to suit good hurling. It's top class sod and that, so I'd say Tipperary are happy enough to be playing here from the point of view of the chance the pitch will give them to play the hurling. So look at it, I don't think it's going to be decided at the end of the day. It's whichever team gets it right. Huge
amount of speculation about the team, even though you named the team Thursday night without Henry Shefflin involved. Is there a chance he could be involved at some stage this evening?
Well, Henry certainly won't be certain, that's for certain.
And look, this is a huge game, biggest game we've had in the qualifiers. You didn't want to be in the qualifiers, obviously, but this must be a challenge you're relishing.
Look, it's a huge game for hurling, everything else about it. It wasn't expected that Kilkenny would play in Tipperary this early in the year, but that's the way it's come to pass, and after tonight, one of the teams will be gone out to the championship.
Look, it's a huge game, obviously, the biggest game in the history of the qualifiers. It's not where Tipperary or Kilkenny probably wanted to be or expected to be, but it must be a challenge that you're both relishing.
Yeah, it's great. You are where you are. There's no route to it. There's no perfect route. It's just great to be here on an evening like this, playing a knockout game. This is real GA championship. Really looking forward to it.
And the league final played here at Nolan Park in front of a full house with a great atmosphere. That must have been a good dress rehearsal, good preparation for tonight.
Yeah, it's the similar type game, only this time there's no comeback, so it's even better.
Indeed, no comeback. Now, DJ, I know you were talking to Brian Cody this morning. What did he reveal to you about his plans for Henry Shefflin this evening?
He revealed absolutely nothing, Matt. I rang him to wish him the best of luck, and that was it. I wouldn't ask him, I wouldn't like to put him on the spot or vice versa. But, just from that interview there, Henry definitely wouldn't be starting, which means Henry, I think, will be looking at some game time, particularly if Kilkenny are under pressure. So we see both Henry and Michael Fennelly running out onto the field here.
Well, indeed, we've talked about how important it is to have Henry Shefflin in the team, but how important to Kilkenny is it to have Brian Cody on the sideline and the passion that he brings to Kilkenny from the sideline?
Yeah, well, Brian is huge stature, and he is, and there's a lot of players moulded around Brian's thinking and way, so it is very important, and I think we'll see some passion tonight. Tonight is do or die. It's everything or nothing, so we'll see a lot of passion tonight.
Indeed, Nicky, they won the league without him, but how important is it to Kilkenny to get the best out of this team, that the greatest ever manager is there with them?
I think he's hugely important to Kilkenny. I think he's really the pulse of it. You saw him there in Galway last year. I mean, he's fired up, and you see him in the interview before the match. He looks well. He's back. His strength is regaining his strength, and I got a shiver myself, to be honest, when the Kilkenny team ran out onto the field. There was an unbelievable response, and Kilkenny are absolutely up for it as well.
Well, indeed. Now, Dahi, of course, as I said, you're the neighbour here to these counties, being an Offaly man. But coming into this game, Kilkenny, just to me, how much of an end of an era thing, how much the bad blood between the two counties here is going to be important, Kilkenny getting stuck into Tipperary?
It's an interesting couple of points, Matt. It could be the end of an era for players on the losing side today. Maybe Brian might go. I personally don't think Eamon O'Shea came in with a 5-year plan for Tip. I think he came in to win an All-Ireland in his first year. Is there bad blood? I think there is bad blood. But I think that comes with a rivalry that they have. I don't think it's nasty. But, you have to have that as a player against one another. And they draw it out of one another. And they've been in one another's faces, let's face it, for the last number of years. All-Ireland finals, semi-finals. And, I mean, you've got to be very careful tonight as well. I mean, a sending off early in the game could have a huge dictation as to what way it could go. But, I mean, you must hate your opposition when you're out there, but it must be controlled.
Nicky, have Kilkenny out-toughed Tipperary to a certain extent in recent years?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kilkenny defence have had the better of Tipperary. We've seen plenty of handbags like that. As Dahi says, it's a lot of familiarity. But in the real hurling stakes, the Kilkenny defence, Jackie Tyrrell, Paul Murphy, JJ Delaney, Brian Hogan particularly, they have bossed the Tipperary forwards. And that's where Tipperary have to stand up and change it here. And there you see, like Tommy Walsh, he ends up hitting Brian Gavin here. So hopefully Brian Gavin.
Championship match of the summer. He also held the reins when Limerick beat Tip last month. His linesmen tonight, John Sexton and Diarmuid Kirwan from Cork. So the 23rd championship meeting of these two neighbours and All-Ireland title contenders is underway. Tipperary have won the toss and they'll play from left to right in this opening half. The noise absolutely deafening as Kilkenny's defence clears their lines for the first time. Brendan Maher starting at right half back, blocked down by Owen Larkin. Sliding in to help is Matthew Ruth, one of the late inclusions in the Kilkenny team. He's won his free, and the home crowd. Well, it's been a beautiful, balmy day here in the southeast. Temperatures dropping just a little in the last hour. Most of the crowd have been in their seats for 90 minutes or 2 hours in some cases. They were counting down the minutes to the throw-in as we watch Owen Larkin looking to open the scoring, shooting into the O'Loughlin's end and shooting wide.
Yeah, that's a bad miss from Owen Larkin. He was unerringly accurate. I think he got 11 points from place balls last weekend, and one you'd certainly have expected him to convert.
He's Kilkenny's leading scorer in the championship as Brendan Cummins, making his 73rd championship start, drives this down on top of Tommy Welch. Tommy Welch, first time ball into the corner. Competing for it over there is TJ Reid. Back to cover for Tipperary comes Pádraig Maher. Down towards the Bonner on this near side. Help arrives from John O'Dwyer. His first championship start in this cauldron that is Nolan Park. Lovely piece of skill. Flicks it across the field to John O'Brien onto his right-hand side. Shoots from that long range. And that brings the wide tally level. Tipperary's first, 2 minutes gone.
Yeah, good play from John O'Dwyer. Was out in front of Jackie Tyrrell and picked John O'Brien out with a good pass, and he was entitled to shoot from there. And again, maybe nerves when he'd normally convert.
Owen Murphy from Glenmore driving this right down the centre over the head of Richie Power. First to react is Paddy Stapleton, who's moved into full back in place of the injured Paul Curran. Loose hand pass gobbled up by Owen Larkin. He is one of the players Kilkenny will look to tonight for leadership and just as importantly for scores. They managed just 5 points from play against Dublin last weekend. Ball spilled and won by Colin Fennelly. Quick look up, spots the space on the far side. A foot race between Richie Hogan and Conor O'Brien, who's moved back into the corner. Hogan just trying to buy himself some time there. Returns the ball to the left wing. Walter Welch, who's moved across and brought his man with him. Welch shoots. And Walter Welch opens the scoring after 3 minutes. Kilkenny are out in front.
Yeah, and he showed his strength there. He's actually starting at full forward, wearing number 10. Owen Larkin, interestingly, is at midfield, marking Shane McGrath. It looks like Matthew Root, Richie Power and Colin Fennelly in the Kilkenny half-forward line. So switches at the Kilkenny end of the field.
Kilkenny starting with a full forward line, by the way, of TJ Reid, Walter Welch and Richie Hogan. And the ball is heading in their direction. Hogan, great strong hand to get up over Conor O'Brien. Now, can he finish? The crowd like it. The umpire is not in agreement. What a start by Kilkenny. Richie Hogan from the shadow of the stand makes it look very easy.
Yeah, and great physical strength to win the ball in the air, and you know, he's had a good year. I thought he played well in Portlaoise last weekend when a lot of the other Kilkenny players didn't perform. He spent some time at midfield, and just the start Brian Cody would have wanted.
Brendan Cummins knocking this towards Pádraig Bonner-Marr. Eludes both he and John O'Dwyer. John O'Brien has come across. Good solid block by Brian Hogan. Kilkenny's half-back line pushing out, and possession back to Tipperary.
Yeah, Noel McGrath's good at these again. You know, may elect to keep it in play, may elect to have a pot for a score here.
Lar Corbett and Owen Kelly both in there on the edge of the square. It's hit in low towards Corbett. Paul Murphy, a late inclusion in the Kilkenny team. He wears 27 and he clears his lines, relieves the danger. Underneath it for Tipperary is Pádraig Maher, solid as a rocket, left half back. First time ball in towards Kelly. Corbett staying down and trying to read the break, and it's worked out well. Corbett tries to turn. He's met by Kieran Joyce. He's fouled by Kieran Joyce. And Tipperary have a free in. But for a moment there, Corbett got a glimpse of goal.
Yeah, and I thought Mikey might have pinned his ears back. It'd be fair to Kieran Joyce, he was back in cover, but initially I thought that there was open space in front of him and he might have gone for it, but you know, won the free, and Owen Kelly, we assume, will just elect to tap this over the bar and get tip off the mark.
Kelly restored to the first 15, back on the freeze and in there on the edge of the square. Kelly drives it over the bar. It's back to a 1-point game. Eamon O'Shea completely reconfiguring his full forward line tonight, and it certainly has a very menacing look to it. Owen Murphy just trying to vary the puck outs, batted back by Pádraig Maher, pulled on by Larkin. Well read by Mickey Cahill, the left corner back, down towards Corbett again. who is being very tightly marked by Paul Murphy. And that is a line ball to Kilkenny.
Yeah, Kilkenny really missed Paul Murphy in Portlaoise last weekend. He's probably one of the paciest defenders in the game, and they certainly were short of pace last Saturday night, and Dublin exposed that, so he's made a good start.
Tommy Welch then from Tullaroan to cut this in, right down the centre. Missed by Richie Power, runs on towards Walter Welch, but Tipperary have numbers back there. And the man striding out with this ball is Conor O'Mahony from Newport. Good ball. John O'Brien was loose, but the ball just took a wicked bounce, and that's worked out well for Kilkenny. Well, the pass inside was miscued, and Mickey Cahill has all the time he needs to pick it up and pick out Noel McGrath. Short to Corbett, didn't even look, turns and shoots in the general direction of the Kilkenny goal, but the roar of the home crowd will tell you all you need to know. That's 2 wides for Tipperary.
And that's a bad wide, Mike. That's an unforced error, because Laird had a lot more time than he realised. Just snatched that one, didn't take a look at the post, and one that in hindsight he really should have taken.
Another big puck out from Murphy. First to react to the break is Richie Hogan. Lost his hurl though. In comes Paddy Stapleton, and Stapleton wins his free. Well, each and every contest for possession like that is bringing the crowd to their feet in the old stand and all around Nolan Park. This is do or die knockout championship, and it feels every bit of it.
Yeah, both sides giving it everything, and Paddy Stapleton, the fullback, is conceding a lot of size and inches to Walter Walsh, so interesting to see if Kilkenny try to exploit that.
Cummins knocking it down towards the edge of the square. Jumping in there is O'Brien, but Murphy left his line quickly. He was met with a shoulder, and Tip have won a 65 for themselves. So 8 minutes gone, Kilkenny leading by 2 points to 1. Let's go down to the sideline and hear from Kieran McSweeney.
Well, Mike, lots of positional changes going on. Owen Larkin playing at midfield, and Owen Larkin really pumped up. He made 3 tackles in the first 45 seconds of this match, and as Jamesy was referring to there a while ago, Walter Walsh has now been positioned at the full forward position. Paddy Stapleton there conceding a good few inches to him.
Well, the switches and the changes are constantly happening. Tipperary forwards in particular looking to find space and trying to drag Kilkenny out of position as we watch Owen Kelly. This chance to level the match. He's Tipperary's all-time leading scorer in Championship hurling. But every chance tonight is a big chance. The sides are level for the first time. 9 minutes gone.
Yeah, when there's pressure on those frees, I can't think of anybody other than Owen Kelly that you want to have standing over them. Cool head, ton of experience, and 2 from 2 so far.
Owen Murphy, that one's going to carry all the way down towards the Kilkenny full forward line. Knocked down by Matthew Ruth to himself. Ruth sneaks a look at the goalposts, hasn't struck it sweetly. Kilkenny's second wide.
Yeah, again, we're seeing chances, Mike, that these teams normally, don't miss, not being converted, and again, disappointing wide from Matthew Ruth. Just noticed it as well, Mike. I mean, I always thought Nolan Park was the...
March 2010, they've won 10 league matches in a row since, including, of course, that league final win against Tipperary back in April. They know every nook and cranny of their own backyard as Joyce drives this in. Walter Welch moving in underneath it, breaks out towards Richie Power. Shane McGrath, the Tip captain, is trying to put the pressure on, so to Pádraig Maher, and between the two of them, they've given away the free. Richie Power, the player who was fouled.
And he made a big difference to Kilkenny in the second half, and he moved to centre forward, ran into the Dublin defence last weekend, and if things don't, if he doesn't score directly, he tends to win frees. And
so Owen Larkin from the James Stephens club has this gilt-edged opportunity to nudge Kilkenny back in front. It's their first score for 7 minutes. We expected it to be tight and tense and tactical, and thanks to Brian Cody and Eamon O'Shea, Jamesy, it has been just that. The switches and the movement in particular, very hard to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and nothing easy. I mean, every score will be earned, and these players are going to be sore tomorrow morning.
Paul Murphy manages to dig that one out. Under pressure though from James Woodlock and Lar Corbett. No shortage of pushing and shoving from both sides, but eventually Brian Gavin blows his whistle. He's given the free to Tipperary right in front of the goal, and from up here it looked like it could have gone either way.
Yeah, probably guilty of picking it off the ground.
Stepping up to the plate again, Owen Kelly from Mullinahone. One of the most consistent marksmen in the country. And Kelly hammers that down towards the town end. Tip back on terms for the second time. Almost 12 and a half minutes gone here at Nolan Park. Owen Murphy knocking it towards Colin Fennelly. The break well read by Conor O'Mahony. First time ball towards Corbett and Murphy's corner. Corbett managed to manoeuvre himself out in front, and he's managed to draw the foul. Well, that is a fascinating and titanic battle in that corner between Paul Murphy and Lar Corbett. And now Brian Gavin's attention is being caught by a little flashpoint that has developed over his shoulder. And nothing more than we'd expect, really, Jamesy.
No, and the first this was real skirmish with Brian Gavin laying down the law and clearing players on both sides. And I think it's one aspect of Lar's game that is often underestimated. He's very, very good in the air. And Nicky spoke before the game about Tipperary forwards not winning their own ball in the Limerick match. Lar is certainly capable of doing that, and did very well to draw the free.
And this presents Owen Kelly with another shot at goal and a chance to give Tipperary the lead for the first time. Well, he's their only scorer so far. All 4 points have come from frees. But Tipperary are out in front. Kilkenny hit the ground running, raced into a 2-point lead, but they've been reeled back in. And Tipperary are right where they want to be after almost a quarter of an hour.
Yeah, and the Tip half-back line, winning most of these breaks from after Kilkenny puckouts. Kilkenny have had no great joy in that department so far.
And again, the same is true as Pádraig Maher came driving out with that ball, but he turned it over. Won back by Lester Ryan, who shoots on the turn under pressure. A third wide for Kilkenny as Brendan Cummins gets the game moving very quickly. Spotted the loose man, Conor O'Brien. Again, he's looking for Bonner Maher. Ryan got a hurl to it just to knock it out of his path, but in to win it for Tip is Noel McGrath. This is John O'Dwyer. Good block by Tommy Welch. It breaks to Corbett! Lar Corbett, the man who scored more goals for Tipperary than anybody else, has just scored his 27th in the championship, and it has propelled Tipperary into a 4-point lead. What a finish.
Yeah, great build-up play by Tipperary. John O'Dwyer actually shot for a point. The Kilkenny defender got a hurley to it, and if you wanted the chance to fall to one man in the Tipperary perspective, it would have been Laren. Just a cool finish, and the game has really come to life with that, Mike.
What a cool, calm and composed finish from Lar Corbett. Restored to the first 15 tonight by Eamon O'Shea. And we were told before this match that Tipperary would need goals to win it. They've got one after a quarter of an hour, and now Kilkenny must come out and play. Well, that score has electrified Nolan Park. Owen Larkin responds in kind at the other end just to keep that scoreboard moving. But that goal, Jamesy, could turn out to be so crucial on a night like this.
Yeah, and sometimes, we spoke about when DJ was in his pomp, the importance of a goal from him to it usually meant more than the 3 points that went up on the scoreboard in terms of, what it did for the team. And Lar has that kind of, I suppose, iconic status in Tipperary, so hugely significant, but particularly so the fact that, he was the one on the end of it.
Away we go again. Bonner Maher lays it back to John O'Brien. Just swung the hurl at it to knock it in towards James Woodlock. But Brian Gavin spotted a foul by the Tipperary number 26. He will certainly put himself about in that half-forward line. And standing over this is Kieran Joyce. A mishit from Joyce, lands right on top of Shane McGrath, who kicks it down on top of Brian Hogan. Tipperary giving possession away very cheaply. Outside to Tommy Welsh, steadies himself, knocks it in. Just one man to aim at inside, that's TJ Reid, grappling with Paddy Stapleton. Ball breaks towards Pádraig Maher. TJ Reid is chasing after it again, but in the end it's tidied up by Paddy Stapleton. Anywhere will do, just to relieve the pressure. And Tipperary's full back line stand firm.
Yeah, and again the Tip half-backs as well, getting back in numbers. They had plenty of bodies back there, you know, covered it well. Richie Hogan had come across and it looked as if he'd knocked it down onto his own path, but Paddy Stapleton back, Pádraig Maher back, and they're managing to clear their lines.
Eamon O'Shea, of course, has been working away on the training ground with Tipperary for the last 4 weeks in preparation for this second chance. This Kilkenny's third match in 13 days, as Brian Hogan avails of that loose ball down the field, feeds it inside towards Lester Ryan. Ryan turns, but that's easy for Cummins. Left his line quickly, got a good strong hand to it and drives it down the field. This time Corbett beaten in the air by Paul Murphy. Is a fascinating sideshow in that corner. Superb take by Pádraig Maher from Thurles Sarsfields. Tip tried to switch the point of attack. Corbett though has raced across and he got his hurl to it, but Owen Murphy gathers it at his leisure and sets Kilkenny on the front foot again. Well, it may be just phase 2 of the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship qualifiers, but each and every ball, each and every passage of play is being cheered to the rafters here at Nolan Park. And Eamon O'Shea is living every moment. That Lar Corbett goal, all that separates the teams at this stage in the game.
Yeah, and what a battle he's having with Paul Murphy in that corner. Statement of intent by Murphy going into the clouds to collect that last ball in the air. So, super contest between the two of them.
Ball touched on by Colin Fennelly, won by Richie Hogan, spots the run of Walter Welch out of the corner of his eye, but so too did Woodlock with help from Conor O'Brien. And Conor O'Brien gets there, gets it under control, and now Woodlock completes the clean-up. Mickey Cahill, quick look up, drives it in low. Hovering across for Kilkenny is Paul Murphy. He's been out of the team recently with an injury, but he is really in the thick of it now. He's lost possession. This is Owen Kelly, turns into trouble, needs help. Back there for Kilkenny is Jackie Tyrrell, and Tyrrell, solid as a rock, gets it out towards the middle of the field, where Richie Power and Brendan Maher collide at high speed. Maher was reckless in the challenge, felt Brian Gavin, and Kilkenny get the free.
Yeah, a little bit of wildness there from Brendan Maher. It was as if he'd committed to the
How the forwards are performing. Number 22, Jerry Aylward, has just replaced number 20, TJ Reid. So Brian Cody and his selectors obviously not happy with how things have been going for the forward so far.
So Brian Cody, who has only lost once in the championship to Tipperary in his management career, makes a change 20 minutes in. Aylward for Reid as Larkin shoots for the score, and not for the first time. He's off target with his free taking. Just doesn't look comfortable. That's 4 wides in this first half.
Yeah, and Lester Ryan has dropped one into Brennan Cummins as well, you know, and that's again something that's we don't normally associate it with Kilkenny, and particularly when scores are so hard to come by, they may come to rue those chances being missed.
Larkin driving onto this ball, knocking it in towards Richie Hogan, grappling with Paddy Stapleton, and across to cover comes Conor O'Brien. This is Brendan Maher. Noel McGrath, just fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. Back to John O'Dwyer. O'Dwyer shooting from 65 metres out. Tipperary's 3rd wide, but these shots being taken under so much pressure. O'Dwyer had to make up his mind very quickly there. He shot instinctively and just didn't catch it cleanly.
Yeah, normally a good finisher. I would put my money on to score that one.
Brendan Maher, who's hurling an awful lot of ball in that half-back line, clears it only as far as the waiting Brian Hogan. Looks up and Sprays it outside to Jerry Aylward. First shot at goal for the sub, and Cummins again. Steady and solid under that dropping ball. His booming clearance has set Tipperary on the attack once more. Owen Kelly. He had plenty of options. He's picked out John O'Dwyer, who's drifted out the field and brought Tyrrell with him. Tyrrell can't get close. O'Dwyer this time has all the time he needs. It's his first point. And it was really well taken.
Yeah, and well worked again by Owen Kelly. Just looked up, saw what was on. Lar was looking for him in the corner, but he elected to go back to O'Dwyer and bisected the post, and that'll do the world of good for his confidence.
So double scores at Nolan Park as Walter Welch, man of the match in last year's All-Ireland final replay, knocks it back as far as Owen Larkin, pondering his options, goes for his own score, and that's gone over the bar. Another good positive response from Kilkenny almost immediately.
Yeah, good finish from Owen Larkin. You know, created the space for himself. Good flick out by Walter Welch in the first place. James Woodlock had to commit to going to that ball, and that left Larkin loose outside, and he slotted it between the posts.
Lester Ryan from Clara, driving it into the Tipperary half. Ball breaks towards Richie Power, who was hit hard but fair, says Brian Gavin. Break gathered by Richie Hogan, and Brendan Cummins has come a long way from his goal. He had to be sure, and he was. And again, his first instinct is to drive it long. Tipperary much more direct tonight than they were against Limerick. But there is pushing and shoving and jostling going on under that dropping ball, and Kilkenny have a free.
Yeah, John O'Brien, just a nudge in the back of Tommy Walsh, and Brian Gavin looking straight at it, no hesitation in awarding the free. But again, Kilkenny have dropped, is it 3 or 4 balls now into Brendan Cummins' hand, and that's again something that you know, you don't normally see them do. You know, those balls go dead, and you know, Cummins, when he gets it, he's opened the shoulders and putting Tip on the attack straight away.
So a free to Kilkenny, in towards the edge of the square. Dangerous ball. Jerry Aylward, the first to react, manages, well, almost managed to keep it in. But the umpire down at that goal, right on the spot, and that brings Kilkenny's wide tally to 5 after 24 minutes. And they're struggling really to find any sort of cohesiveness and any sort of penetration in front of Brendan Cummins' goal.
Yeah, and Eamon O'Shea would have to be delighted with the way his full backline in particular have dealt with the Kilkenny challenge so far.
Paddy Stapleton came acrobatically but couldn't hold it. Richie Power coming through its pace, and he smacks it over the bar. His first point of the match. An individual error by Paddy Stapleton, and Power made him pay.
He did, and you know, Conor O'Mahony has certainly hit the better of that duel so far, so Richie'd be glad to get his name on the scoreboard and get himself into the game.
So Richie Power from Carrickshock opens his account as Corbett once more goes highest to win possession. Kelly, the intended target, in there on the edge of the square. Bonner Marr is also making a run. But Brian Gavin has blown his whistle. Kieran Joyce would seem to have picked up an injury as he went in to try and win that ball. And Brian Gavin stopping the play immediately, and this gives everybody on a very muggy evening here at Nolan Park a chance to catch their breath. Jamesy O'Connor, 25.5 minutes gone, and they have flown by.
It has, and there's just been fantastic commitment and effort, you know, from both sets of players. You know, it mightn't be a classic, but in terms of intensity, you know.
But he is able to continue for the moment at least. Throw ball down on that 20-metre line, which is crucially won by Owen Larkin. Superbly taken in the air by Matthew Ruth. Fouled when he landed, and he's drawn a foul, making some hard yards over there in front of the old stand, and this should be inside the range of Owen Larkin.
Yeah, again, great catch. You know, but I thought he played for it. I don't know if the Tip defenders did too much wrong. Maybe an arm in there from, I think it was Paddy Stapleton, but Brian Gavin has awarded the free, and Owen Larkin will take.
Making up the bulk of their account so far. But still matters very finely balanced. Owen Larkin, his 40th championship appearance. Shooting into a goal he knows so well, and this time he gets it dead right. 4 points for Larkin, and it's a 1-point game.
Yeah, and you knew that by the reaction from the Kilkenny supporters behind the goal that That was between the posts. Just looking now, Bonner Maher is looks like he's doing a stint at a centre forward. Noel McGrath's gone to the wing over on Kieran Joyce. Owen Kelly still in the edge of the square. Lar now drifting over to the right corner, but Paul Murphy's gone with him, so plenty of movement still in the Tipperary attack.
Ball cleared away by Kieran Joyce. He has been one of Kilkenny's best players this season. Bounce eludes the inside line. Mickey Cahill there to clean it up for Tip. Now Conor O'Mahony, and O'Mahony out towards the middle of the field. Joyce again read it well. So too did Shane McGrath. Flicked up by James Woodlock, and here's Lar Corbett, the goal scorer, who switched wings but pulls up as he went for that ball. It looks like a hamstring, and Kilkenny clear it away down the field. Richie Hogan once more gets a chance to sneak a look at the goal post. That's all he needed, and Richie Hogan fires over the equaliser. The sides are level with 7 minutes remaining in this first half. Lar Corbett is in real difficulty, and this could turn out to be a double blow for Tip.
Yeah, and that could be a critical turning point in this game, Mike. I mean, Lar had the ball in his hand, but immediately grimaced. Looks like a hamstring. Looks like there's no way back. He's being led off the field, and it looks like you know, he's leaving the fray. And he started well. Richie Hogan then obviously capitalising on that at the other end, drawing Kilkenny level. And you know, while it was a boost to Tipperary supporters to see him put that ball in the back of the net, it's conversely a blow to see him depart the field at this early stage.
Seamus Callanan is the player who's been pitched in by Eamon O'Shea to replace Corbett. Callanan, of course, who started against Limerick in that Munster Championship semi-final. Kilkenny have rattled off the last 4 points in a row now, and that has seen them back on level terms. The sides locked together for the third time in this first half in Kilkenny. And it really is all to play for.
Yeah, it's certainly a major blow though to Eamon O'Shea to lose him, because you know, he does give you that that X factor, that, you know, ability to create something out of nothing. And as I said, he got the initial goal, so pressure now on Callanan. I suppose he's so much talent, but can he deliver in this cauldron?
Noel McGrath didn't catch that cleanly, but it works out all right for Tip. It's worked through the hands to John O'Dwyer. The angle is tight. O'Dwyer has gone for the score. Perhaps a little over-ambitious. That's Tip's fourth wide. And in the context of this match, Jamesy, a massive 5 minutes to half-time.
A massive 5 minutes to half-time now. You know, key score, goal particularly, you know, could have huge consequences for the rest of the game. But the Tip half-back line again certainly having the benefit. Great catch by Brendan Maher.
Superbly taken by Maher, the young hurler of the year back in 2010. But Kilkenny once more have managed to win the ball back. Lester Ryan out through the back door to Kieran Joyce. Switches it over to the far side, to the space. This is Richie Hogan, who's brought Paddy Stapleton with him out of the middle. Tries to work it back the field towards Richie Power, but he's blocked. And Mickey Cahill to Pádraig Maher, and the danger is cleared. Superb catch by Jackie Tyrrell. Wearing some heavy strapping on that left thigh. But he won the aerial battle. Kilkenny, though, have lost the ball. Scooped up by James Woodlock. Down towards the substitute, Seamus Callanan. He just overran it, and Joyce again. Almost telepathically in the right place, but the clearance is gobbled up by Brendan Maher. This is Woodlock. This passage of play ranging from end to end. Woodlock is hooked. 3 Kilkenny men getting in around him. And Brian Hogan slips it outside to Tommy Welch. Tommy Welch just took a moment there. He's going to knock it in towards Richie Hogan. Stapleton trying to set himself. Gets a hand to it to knock it out away from the goal, but Jerry Aylward has been fouled. Right himself and do the needful. And Kilkenny lead again.
And just seen a tactical change down here, hoping that he'll give them a bit more momentum further up the field.
Brendan Cummins hammering this one down the middle. John O'Brien was jumping for it. He was the target, but it was superbly taken by Tommy Welch. Playing tonight in his 50th championship match. There are few better players in the air. And that is another little psychological victory for Kilkenny.
Yeah, I think John O'Brien might feel hard done by there, Mike, but there were 3 Kilkenny defenders going up for that ball in close proximity to it, only 1 Tipperary attacker, and Brian Gavin saw a foul somewhere in the water, the free.
And the free will be taken by this man, Paul Murphy, a late inclusion in the Kilkenny team. More work for the Tip full backline here. It breaks outside towards Matthew Ruth. A roadblock erected in his path and cleared away by Shane McGrath. Down along this right-hand side. Touchdown by Noel McGrath, but the ball had gone out over the line on this near side of the field. Possession back to Kilkenny.
Yeah, Noel McGrath, lucky there, came across, took a touch on it, and you know, one thing I suppose the firmness of the pitch, Mike, as well. You know, it is hard. The weather's been pretty good down here, and you know, players sometimes struggling to adjust to the pace of the ball and the pace of the bounce.
Lester Ryan taking great time and great care over this, knocking it in towards that central corridor where it's grabbed by Conor O'Brien. Well, they are playing from the front, that Tip full backline, and it's paid off there for Conor O'Brien.
Yeah, and he's had a good opening 35 minutes, and some of the fielding, Mike, and the catching in there has been absolutely outstanding by players on both sides. A major feature of the first half.
We'll have at least 1 minute of additional time at the end of this first half, and plenty for Eamon O'Shea and Brian Cody to ponder as Cummins drops this one down. Owen Kelly is in after it, well read by Paul Murphy. He has Seamus Callanan for company. Callanan put the pressure on, got the last touch, and it is intense, and it has been for the last 35 minutes.
Yeah, space at a premium. Owen Kelly actually burst onto that ball, but his touch let him down and fell to Paul Murphy, and credit to Callanan, stayed with him, made up a bit of ground and got the block in.
No score for Tip now, as you can see there, for just over 13 minutes in this first half. They have lost their way, and remember, Lar Corbett out of the match. Here's a half chance for Seamus Callanan, and the moment it left his hurl, he clenched his fist. He knew he'd struck it sweetly. That will settle the nerves of the Tipperary substitute, and it's enough to level this match for the fourth time.
Yeah, and good hands from John O'Dwyer and Callanan. That'll do his confidence the world of good. He's a flair player, he's a confidence player, and important contribution.
Well, that minute of additional time is almost up, and it's set up for a tantalising second half at the moment. Brian Gavin.
And that would have been a huge boost for him and for Tip. And you know, he's shown well here, gets a free here, bottled up, and then ultimately, you know, Murphy's a great player, but Larry's winning the ball, and the goal would have been a huge boost for him.
They were having a huge battle there at that stage, to be honest with you. But Lar Corbett has come into this under tremendous pressure. He's been most talked about Tip player for a long time, and he took his goal brilliantly. When he dropped it, he improvised very well. You know, great pressure on him, but I mean, again, it was absolutely brilliantly worked. A great ball inside to him as well. And I mean, he improvised absolutely, but a real poacher's finish back to the Lar Corbett that caused damage, and that is just horrendous for him personally and for Tipperary.
Yes, indeed, DJ. How important a moment could that be in the game?
I think that's a huge moment. I think you know, his hamstring is gone. He was leading. He had got a couple of frees. He had got the goal. And I think of all players in Tipperary, the one man that they wanted to see getting a goal was Lar, and he got it, and he's a massive loss.
Because Nicky, the full forward line was going very well, and you were very impressed by John O'Dwyer as well.
Yeah, John O'Dwyer has been playing well. He was showing well for the ball, and you know, he's confident. He was prepared to take Kilkenny on and take shots at goals. You know, he's very physically strong, and that was a great point early on in the game. But he's looked very comfortable, and you know, Owen Kelly's shown well as well, and they would look more danger about the Tipperary full forward than they did the other side for Kilkenny.
Of course, DJ, a lot of focus on the Kilkenny forwards coming into this game, not getting enough. Are you happy now with the 5 points from play in the first half?
Well, I think Kilkenny really came into it. I think the most important score of the whole game, I think, was the Tipperary last score, because Kilkenny had scored 5 or 6 points in a row.
Is in for the second half, and it's Shane McGrath, the Tipperary captain, that has been replaced. That means Brendan Maher slots back into midfield alongside James Woodlock.
Proximity awarded, and you know, Larkin has hit 4, he's missed 3 frees as well, so Kilkenny, you know, could have been further ahead. Outside his own 65, again, my money's on him to convert it.
And a crowd of 23,307 watching as Owen Larkin sets himself, drills it down, One umpire nods at the other. It just made it. Kilkenny lead, and that is now 6 points for Owen Larkin.
Yeah, and Tip's captain Shane McGrath substituted, wasn't in the game in the first half, and Kieran Bergen had a fine game in the league final, so he's on the field, which hopefully from Tip perspective will allow Brendan Maher to exert more of an influence at midfield.
Worth remembering, of course, if this match finishes in a draw, we will have extra time as Seamus Callanan ties the match up right on cue. That's 2 points since he came off the bench to replace the injured Lar Corbett. He's paying his way. Level for the 5th time now.
Yeah, and Callan is the type of player, when he gets 2, he could get 6, Mike, and Brian Hogan just gave him that little space, and he penalised him for it, and straight between the posts.
The sun has broken through the clouds here again in Kilkenny on a balmy summer's evening in the southeast. First touch for Kieran Bergen. Into that Tip half back line. Superb catch by John O'Brien. O'Brien has struck it beautifully. What a score from John O'Brien from Tumivara. His first of the match. Tip are back in front.
Yeah, probably the score of the game so far. Super catch by John O'Brien. Again, someone who's, excellent in the air and caught it over Paul Murphy's head and scored it from a narrow angle. That's really lifted the Tip crowd.
5 Tipperary players have now scored in this qualifier. Waterford, of course, waiting in the wings to see who they'll meet in phase 3 next weekend. As we watch the Tipperary goal scorer Lar Corbett forced out of the match during the second quarter, and will now have to watch on from the sidelines.
Yeah, and you can be sure that'll have been used as a rallying call in the Tip dressing room at half-time, given what Lar has given to Tipperary over the last decade. So up to the guys in the field now to to perform in his absence and raise their game.
Brendan Maher standing over this sideline cut. Knocks it in towards Callanan. Runs through to John O'Brien. Paul Murphy blocks his route to goal. O'Brien has to work it back out the field to Callanan again. His confidence is high. He's shooting from all angles. This one will go down as a 5th wide for Tipperary. But he wants the ball. He's making himself available. And he's shown us he can hit the target.
Yeah, and I thought John O'Brien might have had a shout for a free there, but Brian Gavin chose to keep his whistle down by his side and didn't blow it.
Good covering by Paddy Stapleton. Uses his pace to get out of trouble. Flicks it inside towards his clubmate Brendan Maher. Maher uses his strength to hold off Richie Hogan and kicks it down the field, but he was fouled after he released the ball. Brian Gavin just kept an eye.
Missed so far, and you wouldn't expect him to miss this one.
Tipperary's 31-year-old full forward is 4 from 4 so far, as Nolan Park falls silent on one of those rare occasions this evening. Kelly had no problem with distance, but he's misjudged this one. It's his first miss. It remains a 1-point match.
Yeah, and we put the kiss of death on him, but there was an audible groan from the Tipperary supporters behind that goal, and Kilkenny glad to see that one going wide.
So a half an hour at least to play in the beautiful sunshine here at Nolan Park. Battling to win that ball for Tipperary was Conor O'Mahony. Definitely kick pass back the field. Waiting for it is James Woodlock. Puts the head down and drives through the tackles, and it all opens up. Woodlock goes it alone. He's got a man inside roaring for it. Kelly shoots. It's blocked out for a 65. Well, he was going for goal. It was all he had on his mind, and Kilkenny get away with it.
Yeah, brilliant play by Woodlock, but look at this effort by JJ Delaney. I think it was actually his arm that deflected the ball wide. I mean, he really should have no right to get a block on that ball, and in Owen Kelly's hand, in space, 14 yards out from goal. We were expecting to see the net billowing, and huge credit to JJ Delaney for super effort to deny Tip that goal.
What an incredible block by the Kilkenny full-back, the man with 6 All-Stars and 8 All-Irelands, putting his body on the line to deflect the shot from Kelly. But Tipperary have shown once so far they are capable of unlocking that Kilkenny defence as Kelly stands over this 65. missed a free a little earlier, and he's dragged that shot well wide. 2 wides in a row from Owen Kelly.
Yeah, and Tip may not create a better goal opportunity in the second half. I mean, that was a super run by James Woodlock and timed the pass perfectly, did everything right, and you know, Kelly really, I would be disappointed he didn't put that one away.
Richie Power flicks it back towards Tommy Welch. Took a moment to get it out from under his feet. Works across towards Owen Larkin. He was chopped down by Brendan Maher. That's a free in just. Six points to his credit so far this evening, Owen Larkin. And he makes no mistake with this one. Kilkenny are back on level.
Evan Heine did a great job last weekend in Portlaoise in, you know, really negating his influence, but he's at midfield this afternoon where he's been more involved in the play. I thought he had a great first half, and you know, he's been good on the place balls as well.
Paul Murphy gets it outside to Richie Power, driving it in towards Richie Hogan. Colin Fennelly is in there as well, knocked down by Stapleton, but Hogan has read the break. Walter Welch was calling for it, but there was a foul, chopping on the Tipperary defender.
Yeah, I think he actually dropped his hurl mic. I think it was a technical foul, and that's what Brian Gavin has blown the whistle for. So, but again, well wrapped up by 3 Tipperary defenders. Jerry Elwood had actually made a run. He got it goal side of Conor O'Brien, and you know, was hoping the ball would break through for him, but it didn't. And I think we'll see Richie dropping the hurl here, and yeah, that's a free.
And Brendan Cummins will take it. Again, there's a cluster of players gathering in underneath it. Waiting back there was Paul Murphy. It breaks across the face of goal, and Tommy Welsh was alive to it. And he needed to be. He's won his free as well. But that could have gone anywhere. It has been a tactic of Tipperary's at times tonight to drive it in there around the edge of the square, try and work off breaks, but Welsh that time read it like a book.
Yeah, Tommy, using all his experience there, just grabbed Conor Maher's hurley into his chest, pulled himself to ground, and you know, managed to pull the wool over Brian Gavin's eyes. Callan actually had a chance there, Mike. I think the ball just got caught under his feet. You know, he had it fallen differently, he might have had a swipe at it.
No substitute for experience on a night like this, and Tommy Welsh shows that as Colin Fennelly goes chasing after that. He's under pressure from Paddy Stapleton and Conor O'Brien. Brian Gavin, I think, is going to throw the ball in. Once more, it was a scrum of players all scrapping for it down near the end line. Well, there has been no let up in terms of pace and intensity in this second half. Ball breaks out towards Mickey Cahill. Spoons it away to James Woodlock. Uses the stick to bring John O'Brien into the match. Just couldn't get it under control. He had Paul Murphy breathing down his neck. Ball drilled down to Richie Hogan. Hogan shoots on sight, but he's just misjudged it, and it tails away. It remains a level match with 25 minutes to go.
Yeah, and again, a great ball up the line to pick Richie Hogan out, and you know, Richie had time, steadied himself, took it over the post, but thought it might just creep in inside that right-hand upright, but it didn't, and Tip let off the hook there.
Brendan Cummins looking for John O'Brien again. Instead, it's won by Kieran Joyce. Shortened the grip and lets it in towards Hogan, who's moving around that forward line. Drawn to the ball. This time Hogan has hit the target. 3 points for Kilkenny's number 14 from Danesford, and that's enough to edge them back in front.
Yeah, he missed one a minute ago, but no mistaking that one, bisected the post. He's a player that's really grown in stature, Mike, for Kilkenny over the last 2-3 years, and key player for them.
Paul Murphy reacts quickest to win that ball and clears it down the field. Richie Power contesting possession with Pádraig Maher. It breaks back to Walter Welch. Lovely touch to get it over the head of the first defender, but Conor O'Mahony stood his ground and gets it away. Great catch by Brian Hogan from O'Loughlin Gales, the local club here in Kilkenny City. Once more, though, the ball doesn't stick in that Kilkenny half-forward line, and Brendan Maher is across. And he wins the ball, and Tipperary will have possession. But it is fast and furious now as we swing in
It
in
is
the direction of the home straight.
Yeah, and I suppose visible signs of a couple of players maybe starting to flag on both sides. I mean, you know, it was a very, very warm day here, and you know, this 7 o'clock throw-in, a lot of mental energy expended as well over the course of the day, waiting for it to come around. So both managers now considering their options off the bench.
Torek Maher needed a second opportunity there to connect with that sideline cut. Kilkenny and Paul Murphy deal with it capably. Hogan again, he's reeling, starting to fire now. He's onto that ball, but he's drilled it wide. Kilkenny's 7th, but he is winning so much ball.
Yeah, and both sides have had opportunities to put a bit of daylight between themselves and the opposition, and you know, they're eschewing those chances. So okay, Kilkenny have missed a couple of scores, Richie Hogan particularly in the last number of minutes, but Tip didn't convert their chances in the period before that, so pretty much even Stephen.
But Kilkenny had 5 points from play last weekend against Dublin. They've also hit 5 points from play so far tonight, as Colin Fennelly goes chasing after this. Man who captained them to victory against Tip in that league final back in April. He has his pocket picked by Mickey Cahill, and Cahill, the corner back from Thurles, wins his free, and the Tipperary crowd absolutely love that. Henry Shefflin, number 28 for Kilkenny. Is he poised to make his entrance? The smallest thing could make the biggest difference now as Noel McGrath slips it through to John O'Dwyer, steadies down, takes aim, and takes his point. A crucial score for Tipperary.
Yeah.
Level for the 7th time now.
Very well worked. I mean, the Kilkenny just went to sleep for a second there. Brennan Maher was left free in the middle of the field, and you know, they created the overlap, and John O'Dwyer again showing some good composure, cool head to slot that one.
Colin Fennelly racing out for this ball with Paddy Stapleton, and Stapleton has pushed Colin Fennelly in the back. According to Brian Gavin, he felt the Tipperary defender was all over Fennelly, who just was quicker off the mark. And this is a really good chance for Kilkenny to go back in front.
Yeah, blatant push in the back, easy decision for Brian Gavin to make. And you know, the Tip free count that they've given away, I mean, a lot of these frees in scoreable positions, some of them needless. Again, you know, Paddy Stapleton didn't really need to keel Colin Fennelly over there, but Kilkenny looked to be creating a bit more space than they managed to create in the first half. Richie Hogan, Fennelly have a bit more space to operate in, because the Kilkenny half forward line playing a little bit further out from goal, and the Kilkenny half back line at the other end as well, starting to get on top. Kieran Joyce has caught some good ball. Hogan is starting to come into it now, and Tommy Walsh pretty solid on the other side as well. So warning signs, I think, for Eamon O'Shea at this point in time.
And that is a 7th point of the match for Owen Larkin. And Kilkenny are back in front. Walter Welch, for once, he's got time, he's got space. And he has just knocked over a superb point. 2 in a row for Kilkenny. A first chance he's got in this match to open his shoulders, to get a clear look at goal. And he couldn't have hit it any sweeter.
Yeah, mistake from Brendan Cummins was trying to find Brendan Maher, and Walter Walsh, well over 6 foot, you know, intercepted it. And Brian Hogan again now was, you know, started to ponder into the game alongside Joyce in that Kilkenny half back line.
With so many questions asked of Kilkenny in the last week, would they have the mental energy to go again? Would they have the legs? This their 3rd match in 13 days. Well, with 20 minutes to go, they've engineered a 2-point lead. Woodlock lays it back to Noel McGrath. He's had a quiet match. This one, though, has found its range. His first point of this qualifier, and it's a 1-point game yet again.
Yeah, and they need to get him into the game. I mean, Noel McGrath is a key player for Tip. Has been relatively anonymous. Kieran Joyce having the better of that battle. And we're seeing now, I think, Jason Ford. Is it Jason Ford? Much touted in Tipperary, great underage pedigree. Missed the game against Limerick when he'd been picked to start, and he's in, and I think it's Bonner Maher that's making way for him. So again, another Tipperary player who we didn't see at his best this evening.
So Jason Ford in to make his championship debut, and Bonner Maher, the only one of the Tipperary forwards not to score in this match, has been withdrawn. Ball breaks kindly for Tipperary. Conor O'Brien, though, blocked down by Richie Power. Got in tight, lays it off to Larkin. Quick look over his shoulder. just checking for the hook. He's gone for the score. Hasn't got it. As we go back down to the sideline, Kieran McSweeney has some team news for us.
Yes, Mike, just very briefly, Aidan Fogarty is now ready to come in. He's going to replace Ger Aylward, who had come in earlier in this match. So Aidan Fogarty now in the Kilkenny full forward line.
So Ger Aylward, who came into the match during the first half, struggled to make any real impression. And it's the experienced Aidan Fogarty who slots into corner forward. So Kilkenny 1 point in front. But really we're no closer to finding out who will be the last man standing. Woodlock, another strong run. Here's Jason Ford, first touch for the sub. Ford, shot blocked. He was met by a wall of Kilkenny defenders, and Jackie Tyrrell in front of that Ted Carroll stand drives it down the field. It breaks to Richie Hogan. Great vision to pick out Walter Welch. And he's done it again. He's hit 2 of Kilkenny's last 3 points. He's starting to find some space on this right wing. And the 22-year-old, number 10, has just pushed Kilkenny into a 2-point lead.
Yeah, and credit to Richie Hogan. He's been, you know, pretty impressive in that second half. Picked him out. At the other end, superb defending again from Kilkenny. Jason Ford had a point-up opportunity for the taken. To his credit, you know, there was a half chance of maybe taking it in further, going for goal, and, you know, he ended up being turned over, and Kilkenny converted at the other end of the field. But Hogan is certainly giving Mickey Cahill plenty of problems at that end.
Well, Kilkenny have won 4 of the last 5 championship matches between these teams, a run that goes back 10 years, and they are not going down without a fight tonight. Tyrrell, he has been immense in this second half. He is a colossus in that Kilkenny full back line, and he took that ball down and drove out with it like a man possessed.
Yeah, and just before the ball dropped on the cross, you had a little tug, I think, at Jason Ford's helmet, you know, again, just before the referee spotted it, and it just made it life a little bit easier for Jackie. But yeah, again, I mean, fist pumping, I suppose he typifies really, I suppose, the physical strength of this Kilkenny team, and, you know, looks like he's still carrying that tie a little bit, but he's been pretty solid at the same time this evening.
Eamon O'Shea and his backroom team have made another change. Garrow O'Ryan, who's been in flying form for his club recently, he's in to try and change this match. Here's a chance. Brilliant save by Brendan Cummins. Well, that was a flying save from Cummins, and he had to be at his best. Matthew Ruth it was, and Cummins shows himself to be as agile as ever. What a chance and what a save.
Yeah, great save by Cummins. You know, stood tall again. But Kilkenny, you know, certainly their half-back line, Mike, they just can't seem to win any ball there. You know, again, Eamon O'Shea, I suppose, considering his options. Shane Burke, I suppose, could still be strong from the bench, but he's more of an inside man. And, you know, Larry Bonner, I suppose, too, they're...
As Owen Larkin tries to knock Kilkenny into a 3-point lead. It's from right on the halfway line, and it had yards to spare. Larkin is back in the groove again. 9 points for the Kilkenny number 12 from James Stephens. It's the biggest lead Kilkenny have had in this match, and with 14 minutes to go, they're now in the driving seat.
They are, and, you know, until the stake is driven through the heart of this team, you know, you can't write them off, and they have raised their game, and the crowd are responding.
Ball won by Seamus Callanan, and he's managed to win a free.
Kilkenny have certainly had the better of it, you know, in the first, this was 20 minutes of the second half.
Well, he missed a few earlier on in the second half. That's his 5th point, all from frees. And we are in for a big 15 minutes in terms of this year's All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship. Richie Power takes that ball down when Kilkenny needed it. Great pace from Power into the centre. Only man at home is Pádraig Marr, and Marr juggles it around and gets it away. But it was a real piercing run from Richie.
Kilkenny be disappointed, no return from that effort from Richie Power.
Owen Larkin, he's been pulled back on his way through, and he's won a free. Well, he's really came into this match in this second half. He's taken the game by the scruff of the neck. And there again, he was taking on all comers. Little pull as he was trying to get room to manoeuvre. And now he'll hit the free himself.
And again, you'd imagine he'll again restore the 3-point margin between the two sides. But, you know, relatively anonymous from general play last week, Mike. You know, he